All right, so we're diving into AI-enabled management systems today. And, I got to say, this is a really interesting set of sources you sent over. It seems like you really want to get not just what these systems are, but you know what they mean for how companies are actually run.
Yeah, I think the really fascinating thing here is how AI could totally reshape the way companies work, at
Hmm.
their very core. This isn't just automating a few tasks here and there. It's really about fundamentally changing how decisions are made, how
Yes.
strategies are formed, even company culture.
Absolutely. I mean, you've hit the nail on the head there. So where do we even begin to wrap our heads around, a change this big? Where does this all start?
Well, believe it or not, some of the groundwork for this was laid over a century ago with the rise of what's called scientific management. So you remember Frederick Taylor and his whole thing about efficiency. Now, while those methods might seem kind of rigid by today's standards, his focus on using data to optimize things really laid the groundwork for how we approach management now in, the age of AI.
It is interesting how some ideas, can seem outdated, but then become relevant again in a new context.
Yeah.
But how does, you know, Taylor's obsession with time motion studies and all that translate to, the complexities of systems driven by AI?
Well, think about it. Taylor was trying to use data to figure out the absolute best way to do any task. And AI today, it's doing that, but on a huge E scale, crunching massive data sets to find the best solutions, predict trends. It's that core idea of data, but with supercharged power.
So it's like AI is taking the basic principles from scientific management and applying them in ways Taylor probably couldn't even dream of.
Exactly. But of course, management thinking didn't stop with Taylor. The human relations movement came along and reminded everyone that, hey, organizations are made up of people, not just parts in a machine. You got to consider things like motivation, how people work together, and leadership that actually values the human element.
And that brings up a really important point.
Mhm.
How does AI fit into this, more human-centric approach to management? Can you really have efficiency AD, a workplace that cares about its people?
Absolutely. In fact, that's where the real power of AI lies. It's not about replacing people, it's about augmenting what they can do. Think of AI as a tool that helps leaders make smarter decisions, analyze that super complex data we talked about, and then what does that free them up to do? Focus on strategy, creativity, building teams.
Makes sense. So instead of fearing AI as this job-stealing monster, maybe we should look at it as a chance to become better leaders and make work more meaningful. But to actually do that, we need to understand how AI fits into a company's structure, right? What are the pieces of this AI-enabled management system?
One of the most important parts are knowledge management systems, or KMS. Think of it like a central hub where both AI and humans can get information and share it efficiently. This speeds up learning, helps make better decisions, and in the end, creates a more agile organization that can respond quickly to change.
Got it. So it's not just about having AI, it's about creating this whole ecosystem where AI and people can actually work together effectively. Are there any real-world examples of companies that are pulling this off well?
One of the sources we looked at talks about this logistics company that brought in an AI-powered KMS to improve their delivery routes. So they were able to cut down delivery times, save on fuel, and even make their customers happier. But what's really interesting is that they got their drivers involved too. They used the drivers' real-world knowledge to make the AI algorithms even better.
Ah, so that's a great example of that human AI collaboration we were talking about.
Yeah.
It's not one versus the other. It's figuring out how they work best together to achieve the same goals. But I imagine there are still some bumps in the road, right? Putting a system like this in place must mean a pretty big shift in how people think and the company culture.
Oh, absolutely. One of the biggest things is making sure the company's culture is ready for AI. This takes a leadership team that's not just tech savvy, but also gets the importance of communication being open and encouraging people to learn all the time.
Sounds like bringing AI in successfully isn't just about the technology. It's creating the right space for it to work.
Yeah.
It needs good leadership, a clear vision, and a culture that says, hey, change and innovation are good things.
That's it. Leaders need to spell out how AI is going to transform things, not just, making stuff more efficient, but what it means for the people who work there, the customers, and the whole mission of the company.
So it's not just, hey, we're doing AI now. It's about understanding the why behind it and what you want to get out of it. You're making AI a part of the company's strategy and culture.
Exactly. It's about using AI to achieve something bigger, not just fixing one little problem.
That's a really cool way to look at it. So it's not just about making computers do our work. It's about using AI to achieve goals, to make a company that can adapt and innovate and ultimately be more successful.
And that means knowing how to use AI in every part of the company you know, from the day-to-day stuff to finance, marketing, HR, the whole thing. It's got to be connected. Data needs to flow, and everybody shares what they learn.
So it's moving past these little isolated AI projects and thinking about it as something that can be used strategically across the whole organization.
Exactly. And that brings up the idea of scaled implementation. It's not enough to just have a few pilot projects here and there. To really see AI change the game, you got to think about how to use it across the whole company.
That sounds like a huge project. It
Yeah.
must take a ton of planning resources and a willingness to try things out and learn as you go.
Definitely does. But the payoff can be huge. Companies that get scaled implementation right are seeing massive improvements in efficiency, productivity, even profitability. They're building organizations that can adapt quickly, and that's really what you need in today's world.
So it's not like an overnight fix. It's a long-term strategy that can actually change how a company runs and competes.
Exactly. And it's an investment that's becoming more and more important as things change so fast.
This is all super interesting, but I'm curious to hear more about how this actually works. What are some of the things companies need to think about if they want to start down this road?
Well, first off, they've got to know their own data inside and out. What kind of data do they have? Where is it stored? How are they using it now? Without a clear picture of their data situation, they're not going to be able to use AI effectively.
It's like trying to build a house without knowing what kind of wood or bricks you have,
Right.
right? Got to know what you're working with.
Exactly. And once they've got a handle on their data, they need to think about the tech side of things. Do they have the computing power, the storage, the security to deal with these huge data sets and complicated algorithms?
So it's not just about having the AI program, it's making sure the whole system can support it.
Right. And then, of course, there's the people part of it. Do
Mhm.
they have the skills and knowledge in-house to build, implement, and manage these AI systems? Or do they need to train people up or hire new folks?
So it sounds like making this work takes a pretty multi-pronged approach. It's about data, technology, people, and leadership all coming together in a smart and organized way.
You got it. It's definitely a challenge, but it's one that can have a huge payoff for companies that are willing to take it on.
So before we move on, let's take a second to recap what we've talked about.
We started by looking at the history of management thinking, going all the way back to scientific management and how it's evolved over time.
We talked about how important it is for humans and AI to work together, that AI is a tool that can make people better at what they do, not replace them entirely.
We highlighted these knowledge management systems, how they can help make companies more responsive and adaptable.
And we touched on this idea of scaled implementation, how you need a big picture approach that looks at data, technology, people, and leadership.
Now let's take this conversation to the boardroom and talk about how AI is changing things at the very top level of a company. So, board meetings, they've always been about looking back, reviewing how things went and making decisions based on what happened in the past. But with AI now, boards can get real-time insights and predictive analytics so they can start anticipating future trends and make decisions that are more proactive and strategic.
Wow, that sounds like a game changer. Imagine, being able to see those market shifts coming, identify risks before they even happen, and jump on new opportunities before your competitors even realize they're there.
Exactly. AI gives boards the power to move beyond just reacting to things and start really looking ahead and taking a strategic approach.
That sounds incredibly powerful. But, I wonder, are board members even ready for this? I mean, do they really understand how to use and interpret all these AI insights?
That's a good point. A lot of board members come from more traditional backgrounds. They might not have a deep understanding of AI or data analytics. So yeah, there's definitely a need for people on boards who have expertise in those areas, or at least a willingness to learn and adapt.
It sounds like AI isn't just changing organizations, it's actually changing the people who lead them.
You got it. The companies that do really well in this new world will be the ones with leaders who are comfortable with technology and know how to use it to make strategic decisions at every level.
So it's not just about having, a chief technology officer or a team of data scientists. It's about having leaders throughout the whole organization who understand what AI can do and can integrate it into their own areas.
Exactly. And that brings us to another important aspect of AI-enabled management transformation and operational excellence.
Okay, I'm listening.
Yeah.
Tell me more about how AI can help with those things.
So AI can analyze tons of operational data, like way more than a human could ever handle. And it can use that data to find bottlenecks, inefficiencies, places where things could be improved. It can also automate those routine tasks, and that frees up employees to focus on the stuff that requires human creativity and judgment.
So it's not just about AI taking over jobs. It's about making work better and letting people be more productive and engaged.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance where AI and humans work together, and that leads to a more efficient and enjoyable work experience for everyone.
This all sounds very positive, but I'm sure there are also potential downsides. What are some of the things companies need to be cautious about when it comes to AI-enabled management?
One of the biggest things is making sure these AI systems are implemented ethically and responsibly. We have to be aware of potential biases in algorithms and make sure AI is used in a way that benefits everyone, not just a select few.
That's a really important point. We can't just jump into AI without thinking about the potential impact on society, and you know what's right and wrong.
No, you're absolutely right. We need to develop clear guidelines and frameworks for doing AI the right way. And we need to have a culture where everyone involved in AI understands the risks and is committed to doing things the right way.
So it's not just about the tech, it's about the values and principles that guide how we develop and use it.
Exactly. And that requires a change in how we think, not just for tech people, but for everyone in the organization. We need to get past the hype and really understand what AI can and can't do.
It sounds like implementing AI right is a delicate balance. We want to embrace the potential, but we also need to be aware of the possible pitfalls.
You got it. It takes a combination of technical know-how, strategic vision, and ethical awareness.
This has been a super insightful conversation so far. We've covered a lot of ground from the history of management to the practical stuff about implementing AI in different parts of a company. And we've touched on these important things like ethics and having a holistic approach that includes technology people and leadership.
And we've really only scratched the surface. The world of AI-enabled management is constantly changing, and it's an exciting time to be exploring its potential.
I'm excited to see where this all goes. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I think it would be good to take a step back and talk about some of the questions and concerns people have about AI.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Let's address some of those head on.
One question that always comes up is, will AI take my job? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's a natural worry, right? I mean, AI is getting so powerful so fast. But I think looking at it as a fight between humans and machines, that's too simple and it doesn't really help.
So you don't think we're all going to be replaced by robots anytime soon?
No, no, not at all. Some jobs will be automated, that's true. But AI will also create new jobs and change the ones that exist. The key is to learn the skills that work with AI, not the ones that compete with it.
Okay, that makes sense. It's about adapting and figuring out how to use AI to our advantage.
Exactly. It's like a partnership. AI can do the boring, repetitive stuff, and humans can do what we're good at, being creative, solving problems, thinking critically, and building relationships.
So instead of being scared of AI, we should see it as something that can help us do our jobs better, be more efficient, and maybe even happier at work.
That's the idea, and that takes a change in how we think, for individuals and companies. We have to be willing to learn, adapt, and embrace what AI can offer.
This brings up another big worry that AI will get too powerful and maybe even become dangerous to humans. What do you say to people who are scared of that?
Any powerful technology can be misused, right? That's always a possibility. But the answer isn't to stop innovating or be afraid of progress. We need to come up with strong ethical frameworks, make sure things are transparent and accountable, and have open and honest conversations about the potential risks and benefits of AI.
So we need a balanced view. We need to see both the good and the bad and work together to make sure AI is developed and used the right way.
Right. We need to approach AI with a mix of optimism and caution. We should be excited about its potential to solve problems, but also be aware of the unintended consequences that might happen.
And that brings us back to what we talked about before, about ethical governance and a culture of responsibility.
Exactly. It's not just about the technology, it's about the values and principles that guide how it's made and used. We need to make sure AI is aligned with our human values and that it's used to benefit everyone.
Which leads to another question: how do we make sure AI is fair and unbiased?
That's really important, and it's something we have to constantly pay attention to. Bias can sneak into these AI systems in different ways, from the data used to train them to the design of the algorithms themselves.
So it's not enough to have good intentions. We have to be aware of the potential for bias and take steps to stop it.
That's right. It takes a multi-pronged approach. We need to make sure the data used to train AI is diverse and representative of everyone. The algorithms need to be transparent and we need to hold them accountable. And there needs to be human oversight to make sure AI systems are being used fairly and ethically.
It sounds like building ethical and fair AI takes technical expertise, ethical awareness, and a commitment to keep monitoring and improving things.
You got it. It's not a one-time thing. You have to keep working at it.
So what about individuals? How can people prepare themselves for the future of work in a world where AI is everywhere?
That's a great question. The best advice I can give is to never stop learning. The skills that are hot today might be outdated tomorrow. We have to keep learning and adapting to keep up with technology as it changes.
So it's not about learning one specific skill set. It's more about being adaptable and always wanting to learn new things.
Exactly. And that includes technical skills, but also the soft skills like communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and problem solving. Those are the things that make us human, and they're going to be even more important as AI becomes more common.
I like that. It's like AI is pushing us to become more human, not less.
In a way, yeah. The more we can let AI handle the routine tasks, the more we can focus on the things that require our unique human abilities.
So it's about finding that sweet spot again where AI and humans work together, and that creates a workplace that's more productive, more efficient, and more enjoyable for everyone.
Exactly. It's about seeing AI as an opportunity, not a threat. It's a chance to do our best work and really unlock our human potential.
That's a great point. So before we wrap up, I'm curious what you think the future holds for AI-enabled management. What trends are you seeing, and what are some of the big challenges and opportunities we should be thinking about?
One thing that's really exciting is how AI algorithms are getting more and more sophisticated. We're starting to see systems that can not only analyze data, but also learn and adapt over time. They actually become more intelligent and capable with each interaction.
Wow, that's both amazing and a little scary. I
Mhm.
mean, the possibilities are incredible,
Yeah.
but it also makes you think about control and who's responsible when AI gets that smart.
Yeah, you're right. As AI becomes more independent and powerful, we really need to have strong ethical guidelines and ways to make sure it's used for good and that it benefits all of humanity.
So it sounds like the future of AI-enabled management is a road we'll have to travel carefully with a mix of courage and caution.
Absolutely. It's a journey with huge potential and big responsibility.
This has been a truly enlightening conversation, and I'm sure our listener has learned a lot about AI-enabled management. But before we say goodbye, I want to leave them with a final thought-provoking question.
I like it. Let's give them something to think about.
We've talked a lot about how AI can change companies and how we work. But here's a question for you, the listener. How do you think AI will affect your own life and career? What can you do today to get ready for the opportunities and challenges that are coming as AI changes everything?
That's a great question to think about. The future of AI isn't set in stone. It depends on the choices we make today. So let's choose wisely. Let's keep learning and let's work together to create a future where AI helps us reach our full potential as individuals, as organizations, and as a society.
Well said. And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dives into AI-enabled management systems. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep. It really is. We've covered a lot, haven't we? From, the history of management to how AI could change even board meetings.
Yeah, we touched on vision and strategy, how important it is to get the culture on board, and how to integrate AI into all these different parts of a company.
And of course, we talked about the ethics of it all, using data responsibly, and, that learning and adapting never really stops.
I think anyone listening to this would walk away with a good understanding of, how this field is changing so fast.
I agree. And I really like how we kept coming back to the human side of it all. It's easy to get caught up in the tech itself, but this is about helping people make better decisions, work smarter, and make work more, human-centered.
For sure. Technology is a tool at the end of the day, and like any tool, it can be used in good ways or bad ways. It's up to all of us leaders, professionals, everyone to make sure AI is a force for good in the world.
To wrap things up then, I want to leave our listeners with one last thought. We talked about how AI can totally change companies and how we work, but the biggest change has to happen within each person.
Right. Everyone has the power to be a part of this new world where humans and AI work together. It's up to us to shape the future of work.
It takes curiosity, the ability to adapt, and being willing to look at things in a new way to see the possibilities.
It's about seeing AI as an opportunity, not a threat. A chance to do our best work and find more meaning in what we do.
What a great way to put it. So to everyone listening out there, keep exploring, stay curious, and never stop learning. The future is ours to create, and it's up to us to do it wisely and responsibly. Until next time, keep diving deep.